Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education. This is our first day, and I hope that everybody is well. Let's start the day with a prayer, followed by the national anthem and the college hymn.
Dear God, thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We are truly grateful for all these. Thank you for allowing us today to meet on Zoom and Facebook Live and share our knowledge and time with one another in this research conference by GS's Office of Research and Extension and Ayuri Inc. May you extend your divine wisdom to our speakers and presenters so that they would be able to impart effectively their God given knowledge to all of us. May they be blessed as they continue to bring their expertise to people who need them. Bless the participants as well so that they would be able to glean the vital information from this activity. May you bestow your blessings after this virtual conference so that we may go out and spread what we have learned in the spirit of your love and generosity. May we realize that this activity should glorify your name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
In a town at the Guimaras shore stands a school we all honor, JSC that we all adore, with our hearts and hands and soul, in the fields and in the hall. She will rise and never fall. Our beloved Guimaras College, our school in a town at the Guimaras shore. It is true we are young but judgmental. Lead us on, JSC, make our hearts strong and bold. Lift your banner high, flying in the sky. Let your sons and daughters all shout mabuhay, mabuhay. In the school and the western shore, we are brothers and sisters all. Together we want purpose sure for the success of our school. In the fields and in the hall, we are ready to heed her call. Our beloved Guimaras State College, our school in a town at the Guimaras shore. It is true we are young but judgmental. Lead us on, JSC, make our hearts strong and bold. Lift your banner high, flying in the sky. Let your sons and daughters all shout mabuhay, mabuhay. In this school in the western shore, we are brothers and sisters all. Together we want purpose sure for for the success of our school. In the fields and in the hall, we are ready to heed her call. Our beloved Guimaras State College, our school in a town at the Guimaras shore. In a town at the Guimaras shore.
Once again, good afternoon. This is really going to be a milestone for our inventors, researchers, and extensionalists. Let's start the day by hearing the opening remarks of a URI Vice President for Internal Affairs, Iloilo City, Philippines. Let's have Dr. Gabrielle C. De La Garte.
To all the honored speakers of this webinar, who will be introduced later, Dr. Eli Martir, OIC Guimaras State College President, and key officials of the college, Dr. Romy Moralista, Vice President for Research, Guimaras State College, and the President of the IVRC, and your staff, participants from around the world, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Leaders are born and developed through the years. School leaders are among the most influential people in the universe today because they hold the teachers whose virtues and wisdom are caught by the community around them, especially the children. Many philosophers believe in education as a potent tool in developing human resources, the country, and the whole wide world. Many political and government leaders look at children as the hope of their respective nations and that nobody should be left behind. Indeed, they are like mustards that will be productive in due time. In this pandemic, we were told to observe health protocols. The reason why conferences and meetings are done online, so we have this international virtual research conference and green technology education hosted by Guimaras State College and the International Organization of Researchers, Inventors, and Extensionists Incorporated with the theme, Continuing Limitless Connectivity with School Leaders and Caring for Students' Learning. Indeed, we need connectivity beyond the connections of the internet. We need to communicate, share ideas, exchange best practices, educate others, and learn from others. So much that we want to learn and are eager to be among with one another, we cannot, because health matters, lives matter. Though online, the people headed by the governor of this island, Paradise Province of Guimaras, the mayor of this town, the parish of this municipality, and the warm and gentle educators of Guimaras State College warmly welcome you to their idyllic heaven. May I advise you to join the interaction, participate, and be more learned after the webinar. Be generous to share what you will learn from this academic endeavor. There is much to learn and to love in others, so keep the journey going. The IURA is also encouraging everyone to share the enthusiasm with fellow researchers, inventors, and extensionists. The world needs more of you in these trying times. Congratulations to all people behind this event, to Dr. Martir, Dr. Moralista, and to all who contributed to the realization of this webinar. To others who were not mentioned, God knows who you are, and surely He will reward you. Good luck, welcome, mabuhay to all of you, and God bless us all. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gabriel de Loliarte. Hope is well with you. Right now, let's hear the message, a very inspirational message from our beloved Governor, Province of Guimaras, Dr. Samuel T. Gumarin.
Greetings from the youngest province in the Western Visayas and one of the premier agri-ecotourism destinations in the country. On behalf of all Guimaras Nons, we are very glad that despite the massive slums of COVID-19 pandemic from the global context down to the governance in the grassroots, we are today having the International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education with Guimaras State College Office of the Vice President for Research Development, Extension Services, Publications and Training, in collaboration with the International Organization of Researchers, Inventors, and Extensionists Incorporated. This virtual platform will enable presenters as think tanks to connect with our participants and our stakeholders in the value of green technology education. We need to fortify this link because this is our future and the future of the future generations. Here, we foster education and develop learners, and I strongly believe that in this process of integrating green governance with education, the gateway will be opened more for young people to think global and act local. The value of research in this sequence gives us decision makers and leaders the most scientific and accurate data to improve governance and policies and further socioeconomic growth and development while spurring the drivers to provide employment, livelihood, and incomes to our residents. For me, leadership is about giving the right information to our people. And we must never stop telling them the truth and to always reiterate that the earth is dying. And it is getting warmer and warmer every single day. Rainforest burning, animals not keeping up with climate change. This international conference will enrich this battle cry, and we hope this gets the spotlight it deserves and go beyond the walls of the university and college buildings and go down to the communities for empowerment. Here in our province, we always highlight that we are the island and the island is us. We protect our island just like how we protect ourselves and our family. Taking into considerations the hazards, both natural and human-induced, coupled with rapid development, and the growing demands for economic activities, our beautiful islands, which is blessed with pristine and abundant natural resources, connecting the mountain ridges to the coral reef is at stake. Thus, we need to employ an integrated and holistic management process to ensure a healthy environment to the people and to meet the challenges of sustainable development. Aside from these, alternative energy sources, infrastructures, or our province is implementing the Integrated Coastal Management Program. as an ICM parallel site of the Partnership in Environmental Management for the Seas of East Asia, or PEMSEA, and a member of PEMSEA network of the local governments, we adhere into its framework, implementing various programs and projects and activities under the 5 sustainable development aspect in coordination and collaboration with our stakeholders, partners from the national government agencies, civil society organizations, and local government units. These sustainable development aspects have been gradually addressing the complex management issues of our island ecosystem through functional coordination mechanism in our ICM program, coordinating committee, and being yours truly as the chairman. This also contributes to the international targets such as UNFCCC, or the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, SDG, or the Sustainable Development Goals, and the Agenda 21. Our priority development agenda for the period of 2017 to 2022 has adopted the ICM as our key island development strategy to keep the ecological integrity of the province. Considering the agri-ecotourism potentials of the island, we have likewise updated our provincial development and physical framework plan by integrating the concept of eco for environmental protection, resiliency as we are mainstreaming disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, and safety pertaining to peace and order and general public security. Our best practices exhibit partnership and collaboration of all the tiers of the governing bodies down to the grassroots, with supporting policies and laws such as the Anti-Plastic Ordinance, Trust on Organic Farming, Greening Program, Promotional of Indigenous Materials for Sustainable Livelihood and Renewable Energy, among many others. To all the stewards of this initiative, all the researchers and presenters, congratulations, and I am deeply honored to have taken part in this developmental activity. Again, may this international conference open more doors for education and green education programs to develop technologies that are more sustainable. Let us promote green element to protect the depletion of our ecological resources, and in the course as one takes space in rehabilitating green technology for an unpolluted world for the next generations. Madamo gid nga salamat, and thank you very much, and let us continue together to rise and heal as one.
Again, thank you very much to our beloved governor, province of Guimaras. Now it's time to hear this message from our beloved Congresswoman, the Honorable Lucille Ledesma Nava. My warmest felicitations to Guimaras State College's Office of the Vice President for Research Development, Extension Services, Publication and Training on its collaboration with the International Organization of Researchers, Inventors, and Extensionists. The International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education with the theme Continuing Limitless Connectivity with School Leaders in Caring for Students' Learning comes at an opportune time as the whole country gears toward green technology. As an island which focuses on agri-ecotourism, the province of Guimaras remains responsive to the call of an environment-friendly growth and progress. Further, it is with confidence that this virtual conference will continue to highlight the ever-changing needs and challenges of students and school leaders as they face this pandemic. To all the participants of this international virtual research conference, I salute all of you and I look forward to hearing more about your research. Congratulations! Thank you very much to our beloved Congresswoman. It's time to hear the message from the Office of Vice President for Research and Extension of Guimaras State College. Here is Dr. Rome B. Moralista. May your days be filled with sparkles and spirits, with lots of love. This conference is one of our unparalleled chances of learning and reaching out to others as we become aware of what others have worked on or have been working on us yet. Everyone's idea here can be great inspiration for our own research and future collaboration as we internalize and integrate what we have learned into our lives and construct our own understanding. I hope this conference will allow you to grow and challenge yourselves as we discuss thoughts, share ideas, create ideas, and ignite motivation with no one squeezing in beside us. May you all share the space and make a connection as you spark each and every one of us to grow and become better and valuable resources for new ways of thinking, solutions, and best practices. It's been a pleasure being with you all virtually. Thank you very much, Dr. Rome B. Moralista. Here is another message from the OIC President of Guimaras State College, Dr. Early Mocho Martir. Greetings of love, hope, and harmony. Today marks another milestone for GSC as we host the International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education. This is made possible by the Office of the Vice President for Research Development, Extension Services,
Welcome to Guimaras, the island of mangoes and more. Guimaras is an island province located in western Visayas. It is made up of 5 municipalities, namely Hordan, the gateway and main growth center; Buena Vista, which serves as the center for higher education; Nueva Valencia, the tourism capital; Sibunag and San Lorenzo,
fall through. Do you see what we've become? Through tears and losing the only one, the only one. Take me away, I'm running for my sight as a hurricane breaks defense.
So again, welcome back to the International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education. It's time to introduce our keynote speaker. Let me tell you something about him before he says something. He finished his Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in physics, on March 28, 2003, from the West Visayas State University, Iloilo City, Philippines, with his thesis, Making Sense on How Students Come to an Understanding of Physics, an Example from Force and Motion. He graduated cum laude and Nina S. Lopez Awardee for the most outstanding student teacher. Finished his Master's of Education major in Physics on October 2006 from the University of the Philippines, Visayas, Iloilo City, Philippines. Finished his PhD in Science Education on March 20, 2015 from Tokyo University of Science, Tokyo, Japan, with dissertation, empirical and biographical studies on the implementation of science giftedness education from a social perspective. He was the recipient of these awards for excellence in academic performance, ranked number one in the Graduate School of Science and Mathematics Education of Tokyo University Science, and finished his doctorate degree in 2 academic years only. We are proud to introduce to you our keynote speaker. We have Dr. Ares Serbo Larodia, Special Science Teacher for Philippine Science High School, Western Visayas.
Good day, participants, and also to the organizers of the International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education. Thank you very much for having me and for allowing me to share my thoughts about the theme of this virtual research conference. Please allow me to share with you my screen. So my presentation is entitled Preparing Future STEM Leaders Amidst Challenging Times. Please allow me to present my presentation in this format so that I can share the website later and some of the things that I need to show you with minimal transition. I congratulate the organizers spearheaded by the Guimaras State College for pursuing this virtual research conference. Despite the challenging times that we are having right now and all these natural disasters, we still have to continue pursuing green technology education. I think it is important that we need to make a connection between the green technology education and how can we better thrive in the future. So these are the talking points of my presentation. Because this is a virtual research conference, I would like to share with you the research program of Philippine Science High School, particularly the campus where I belong, the Western Visayas campus. And then from this research program, I will be presenting to you the exemplars of green technology education. Third, I will be presenting my understanding of the continuing limitless connectivity from my own perspective. And then, of course, to answer, is there really a need for us to continue? And our brand of caring for students' learning. And since this is an international research conference, please allow me to present to you where exactly I am right now. Of course, this is the Philippines. On the north is, of course, Taiwan, and then you have Japan. And below is Indonesia, and here is China, and this is Southeast Asia. My campus is located in the central part of the Philippines. And this is the aerial view of my campus. Right now, I am somewhere in this part of the city. So, why do we have the research program? Unlike other schools in the Philippines, in the Constitution, Article number 14, it is promulgated that there must be the promotion of science education coupled with technology. And because of that, the Ministry of Science and Technology, but we call it as a department in the case of the Republic of the Philippines, put up several research development institutes. It is said that our school offers specialized science high school program, yet it is a research development institute. And we are considered as a system under the Science Education Institute of the Department of Science and Technology. And why do we exist? We exist because there are two streams in the Philippines: the education for the gifted in the arts and the education for the gifted in science. There's also a counterpart in the Department of Education. However, in our case, we are under the Department of Science and Technology, where the Philippine Science High School is under. Of course, in the elementary level, we have also specialized science classes. In fact, in most schools in the Philippines nowadays, there is a special science class program. But going back to the Philippine Science High School, this is not actually entirely different from what it is offered in the Department of Education. We also have a 6-year curriculum for secondary education. So we have from grade 7 up to grade 12. And our curriculum can either be graded or non-graded. Now, in this 6-year curriculum, this is divided into 3 parts. So the first 2 years, grades 7 and 8, is known as the foundation years. The next 2 years is known as the advancement years. And finally, we have the specialization years. This is purely curriculum above. And then, in the first 2 years, there is an alternative learning activity where scholars have to form group and then pursue their interests. So this is an interest group. And then, by the time they are in grades 9 or 10, they can opt to undergo an internship program. The internship program should be enrolled in a science laboratory where they get to expose themselves to the ins and outs of a science laboratory. Finally, the last 2 years of secondary education is known as the SCALE program. SCALE is an acronym for Service, Creativity, Action, and Leadership Enhancement Program. As a science high school, looking at the highlighted part, this is the extent of science, math, and technology subjects. As you can see, more than 50% is devoted to science. Of course, it is comparable. However, it progresses as the grade level from grade 7 up to grade 12. So from 51.6 until it becomes 66.66%. But our kids also are offered humanity subjects. So these are your English, Filipino language, we have physical education, values education, and social studies. However, when it comes to the research program, this is offered through the three subjects where they have to take in research when they have reached grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12. So it is a 3-year program. So in these subjects, our scholars are taught about the rudiments of research writing and at the same time doing research as a whole. Now, this is an answer to our mandate, vision, and mission that our scholars are being prepared to become globally competitive Filipino scientists. So that is why I am presenting this to you so that more or less you can have a glimpse on how to prepare future STEM leaders from our end. Now, the publication process in most Philippine schools begin with problem formulation, and then it ends with the binding of manuscript once they have defended their paper. However, in the case of our campus, we decided to pasanyog. What is pasanyog? Pasanyog is a Hiligaynon word. It is the language of people here in our island. Pasanyog means to keep on improving. And so, 3 years ago, we decided that why don't we challenge ourselves and submit the outputs of our students to research publication. So, that was the start of our engagement with the publication of our journal articles rather than simply binding chapters 1 to 5 or the research manuscript. And so, we have published in peer-reviewed journal, and this is the use of convex lens as primary concentrator of multi-junction solar cells. And this was possible because we collaborated with the Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology, the University of Tokyo. Because as I mentioned before, our students have internship program. In this internship program, our scholars were able to enter the RCAS or the Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology in the University of Tokyo. And because of their exposure during their internship program, they were able to learn the skills, and then they were exposed to a lot of research literature and engage with scientists working on solar cells. And so they conducted a research on multi-junction solar cells. And then 2 years ago, our students presented in a national conference about the entire process, the publishing a school-based research journal, what is the implementation process, the challenges, as well as our reflections. And other than that, we were able to come up with something related to green technology education when we have the technosocial feasibility analysis of solar-powered UV-LED water treatment system in a remote island of Guimaras, Philippines. And through this, we have scale programs. Again, going back to the non-graded subject where students engage in service, creativity, action, and leadership as we conduct the techno-social feasibility, because we believe that we keep on improving, continuously improving, or what we call as our pasanyog. Now, in the past, we used to bring astronomy in rural areas. But of course, due to the situation that we are in right now, we cannot do that. However, it should not prevent us from looking up and finding ways on how to improve ourselves. And so, aside from publishing our paper, the following year, our scholars decided to have their own school-based research journal. And ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to present to you that probably we are the only high school which has our own school-based research journal. And this is not just a mere compilation because it underwent a review process. And then, in order to keep the spirit of Pasanyog, we brought it to the mall so that we can engage the public about public science and the lab for reading of research articles. Probably, the, the launching of the video is our answer to continuing limitless connectivity, because this year 2020 is our third volume. However, due to the current situation, we are prevented from doing so. And so, please allow me to present to you the video launching of our volume 3 of Public Science. All right. The title of my presentation is actually inspired from this policy, which is preparing students, and that could be also other learners across the globe to become globally competitive Filipino science and technology leaders. Now, going back to my presentation, I will now present to you the content of Public Science. But since we have already 3 volumes, I will only present to you the latest research outputs, which I considered as exemplars of green technology education. If you go to our website, which is the Public Science, so this is it. We have research clusters inspired by Harmonized National Research Development Agenda as our response to our commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are, of course, the wastewater remediation. We have the antibacterial studies, material science, agriculture, computer science, industry, energy, and emerging technology, aquatic and natural resources, and finally, we have health and toxicity. Of these 8 clusters, I will be presenting to you exemplars from the wastewater remediation and the industry, energy, and emerging technology. So let me introduce to you the Visayan character Muro Poro. So this is all about wastewater remediation studies. Water is life, and therefore we need actually to ensure that we have quality drinking water. In this cluster, our scholars came up with the following projects. The first one is the organomineral shell composites in the removal of chromium in water. Then we have the phosphate adsorption potential of pineapple peel derived biochar. And then we have the column adsorption of cadmium and lead using rice husks and mango peels. So in Guimaras, there are so many mangoes. And finally, we have the quantification of the effect of nitrogen on phosphorus uptake of Chlorella sorokiniana. So this is the contribution of our school when it comes to the green technology education. Now, under the industry, energy, and emerging technology, please allow me to present to you the outputs which I am familiar with. So there are 3 of them. So first is the kinetic analysis of tuberous cacao padhas through gasification. And then we have a novel application of a double convex hemispherical lens configuration in which I am the research advisor, and I am also the research advisor to the rice-based coolant in solar panels can to reduce power consumption. So this is the use of bio-based PCM or phase change material in determining the efficiency of photovoltaic cells. Now, as you can see, these are the headline posters. Because in our school, there are 3 posters that you have to make. You have to prepare a headline poster like this one, and then you have to make a community poster which is intended for young learners, and then we have the technical posters, and that is for high school and experts in the field. When you go to our website, by clicking the headline poster, you will be directed to this page where you can find the community poster and the technical poster. I have already um, opened the window for the community poster. Now, this is the community poster when we conduct a community-based science research congress. This is what they show to elementary learners. So this is a simplified version of what is the research project is all about. Whereas, if they have to present in scientific conference such as this, then they have to present that using the so-called technical poster. In that way, we can actually promote the culture of research learning. And then, when you click the download article, you will be directed to the journal article of the study. But of course, you can go to our website so that you can download all the articles for free. Again, the website is publiscience.org. So please allow me to close this one. So again, the website is publiscience.org. And in the theme, there's this caring for students' learning. I have this moniker as the star teacher because I help students reach for their stars. And as manifestation of helping our students, we need to answer first the question because safety comes first in this challenging time. Why continue learning despite the challenging situation? So, I would always tell my learners that Isaac Newton had to work from home due to temporary closure of his university. In fact, the university was closed for 2 years. However, it did not stop him from developing calculus and his theories of gravity and optics. Our national hero also came up with so many activities despite his stay in the Pitan when he was exiled. Although being exiled is totally different from being quarantined, yet it is like being isolated as well. However, it did not prevent him from pursuing science. During his stay, he took time to collect specimens and sent it to his friend for identification. And these 3 fauna are named after our national hero. By the way, for those who are not in the Philippines, Jose Rizal is the name of our national hero. I think we need to consider again and reflect on our sense of purpose. Because if we think about education, education is for change. Education is towards adapting to these changes, and then for us to be equipped and more prepared for the future. Because in the article written by Francis Dialogo, the last few sentences of the journal article entitled "The Philippines in the World of the Influenza Pandemic of 1918 to 1919," and I quote, "to be prepared for the emergence of the next possible pandemic." And this was published actually in 2009. If only everyone is reading journal article and learn from them, so probably we could have somehow prepared ourselves in this pandemic. In fact, reading the entire article again would remind you that we have not actually learned from our past. So going back to the goals of education, if we are dealing with this challenging situation right now, I think we need to ask ourselves if we have reached our goals. And I have highlighted here one of the goals: to enjoy our life and our work. So the question is, are you enjoying your life? Are you enjoying your work? Because the model of the teaching and learning process by McLerath and Health tells us that the student achievement is directly linked, as if this is a web. So you have there the student behavior, the state policies, the school policies, the teacher behavior, characteristics, and so on. So in this process, caring for students' learning would entail everyone and all of these factors. And then, take note, the teachers remain as a prime mover. At the end of the day, we are still the center of everything. You are considered actually as the prime liner. But then, you can also ask yourself, if you are a mover, could it be that you are also the inhibitor of learning? Now, I cannot blame you because of the effects of pandemic, and this must be addressed among teachers. We need to discuss among ourselves the social, psychological, or emotional, as well as the physical effects of pandemic. Not until we address this, then we cannot care for others. And then, the availability of provisions for flexible learning in our region where I am located, take note that the provisions are available. In other words, there are available resources. However, we need to consider if we are ready. Now, as you can see, it is ready. I mean, it is available. However, are we ready? But looking at the data, you would notice that we are not ready. But how do we make ourselves ready? The reason for this is, as discussed by the researcher, there is a limited exposure and training on the use and conduct of the flexible learning options. So in our theme, where we have the continuing limitless connectivity, this is analogous to flexible learning options. But how can we offer this to our students? And that is why others would call for canceling the academic year 2020 to 2021. They have this hashtag, yes to academic freeze. But then the question is, should we freeze the school year? In fact, we have already started, yet others clamor still for academic freeze. On the other hand, why should we pursue? Take note that education cannot wait. And if we stop for a year, that would have a tremendous effect in the education capital. That is why UNESCO has this hashtag also, learning never stops. And I would like to congratulate everyone viewing this presentation, because I believe you lean in this part of education, which is to continue learning. The reason for that is because in the Sustainable Development Goals number 4, which is the quality education, it is the responsibility of all stakeholders, not only the educators, but parents, and especially the learners, that it is inclusive and equitable quality education which promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. This virtual research conference is our response to lifelong learning. This is an avenue by which we can share and discuss the issues and concerns in education. Most especially that we are in a challenging situation. Take note that the pandemic simply highlights what has been in existence, the so-called reality. So, supposedly, education must liberate us. This could be our reality. This is the equality, equity, and liberation. In other words, it removes all defenses. It removes all the barriers that regardless of your demographic profile, you can secure that quality education. And it remains a challenge to all of us because teachers are the frontliners. And in order to fulfill our obligation, we must continue learning because we stop living when we all stop learning. In the conceptual framework of science education, please allow me, because my area of interest is the science education. This is in the case of the public education system of the Philippines. This is the conceptual framework of science education. Now, as you can see, it must be problem issue-based learning. So we are having a problem now. There is an issue which is about the pandemic. Therefore, our strategies and tools must be VOCA. I'm sure some of you have heard or familiar of this, but for those who are not, VOCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Because of the pandemic, there is a fast rate of change. So for example, in the making of a school schedule, we keep on changing. Are we allowed? Are we not? Something like that. And then it is also uncertain. Can we still go back in school by January 2021? There are so many issues to be taken in. So it is complex. And then sometimes you don't simply understand anymore the truth. Therefore, it is also ambiguous. However, VOCA can be in this side, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. However, we can turn VOCA from volatility to vision, from uncertainty to understanding, from being complex to clarity, and then we have from ambiguity to agility. Now, let us consider learning agility from the VOCA. Now, learning agility has several aspects from VOCA. Here, in order for you to become volatile, then there is a self-management. For uncertainty, we need to communicate. For complexity, there is a need for thinking. And then, for ambiguity, there's a need for us to collaborate. And in learning agility, you will notice that one aspect here is research. So there's a need for us to be informed, and there is a need for us to be literate about media. And I'm talking about multimedia. And in order to impart them, we need to consider the 7 skills students will always need regardless of the course they are taking in. So you will notice that these are the 7 skills. And in this challenging time, these skills are adaptability and learning skills. We must be able to adapt to a new situation. We must be resilient. And so, we need to train ourselves how to equip and acquire new skills just to adapt to the new situation. And to do that, let us all remind ourselves that it comes in stages. So we have the enhancement phase and we have the transformation phase. This is the SAMR model, which stands for the substitution, augmentation, modification, and then redefinition. So the issues facing the transition between the face-to-face instruction as well as the online or the virtual learning, just like what we are having right now, must come in 2 phases, and it entails these stages, the SAMR model. I hope we consider that. But the principles remain the same. Is it engaging? Is it affordable? Is it accessible? Is it sustainable? And finally, is it inclusive? Because again, our commitment to sustainable developmental goal is inclusive education. Now, in caring our students, take note that our students are the manifestation of what we bring to them inside the classroom. When pandemic happened, at first, we also felt helpless. But then, again, because in our theme, caring for students' learning, I would rather present what are the manifestations by which we cared for their learning on how my learners care for others. And I would like to present to you the COVID-19 storybook entitled Kids Against COVID. A story coloring book. Again, this is a pasanyog because it is not just a storybook. It is a story coloring book. So please allow me to present to you how it looks like. So this is the cover page, and these are the different pages. This is a product again of research because as you can see in each page, we checked research articles in order to come up with these different pages of the story coloring book for children. And at the same time, we also considered what primary articles would tell about the coronavirus. So, going back to the slide, this is a manifestation that our learners care for their learning by imparting their learning to others. And then, despite the pandemic, we have to adapt to the new normal. Fortunately for me, my students won in a global international virtual science symposium. Supposedly, we should be presenting this in in the United States, but then due to pandemic, we were not able to do so. But please allow me to give you an idea what is this research all about. Our scholars were trained to identify mosquito larvae. And having this skill, they decided actually to check in which part of the province has the most number of mosquito larvae and why are there so many mosquito larvae in that area. And because of this study, we're able to impart an information for the village to consider in terms of their community practice and to prevent the mosquito larvae from hatching their eggs. And then, we also participated in the Dark Sky Rangers, where my two students won third and second place by advocating dark skies so that we can enjoy the night sky. And then, please allow me to brag for the last time that we participated in the global competition in astronomy and astrophysics and share this with other scholars to Project Talampad. Now, take note that aside from that, our students shared their virtual science experiment. This is entitled as Idulop Project, Rita Narao. This is already the report, but please allow me to present to you how these learners from Haniway Pilot Elementary School and our stakeholders, the Philippine Implementation Team, and the guidebook. So this is a sample of the guidebook where virtually we discuss together with their parents the wonders of science. So I and my scholars together with our counterpart in Japan who are university students shared the wonders of science. And then we held last week Patupad. Patupad is a Hiligaynon word which means to put side by side. A virtual forum with national scientists on how to become an outstanding young scientist. So this is a nationwide event participated in by elementary pupils as well as Philippine Science High School scholars. So take note that these are the ways by which the research program is an avenue for our scholars to undergo the so-called green technology education. And at the same time, this may not be the answer to the limitless, the continuing limitless education and at the same time caring for students, but hopefully through these exemplars and our activities, it might inspire you to embark on doing something within your classroom, in your school, or even in your community. Therefore, in summary, School's research program is an avenue in integrating green technology education. Learning must continue no matter what. But of course, I respect those who are calling for an academic freeze. Teachers are frontliners. Learning equates to living. Be in touch of realities while pursuing the goals of education. We need to embrace VOCA, but the one which is having a vision, and then it must be clear, and we must be agile. And finally, I may not have answered it, but please keep on searching. This might not be the answer to the questions that you have in this challenging time. Keep looking, keep searching, because in the last page of our storybook, as long as we work together, we can fight coronavirus and we can be a victor of our circumstances in this pandemic. And with that, thank you for your attention. This is my full name, and you may contact me through this email address. Again, to Sir Romy, to the Guimaras State College, and of course, we have the IORI and the participants. Thank you for your attention. Duro-duro gid nga, salamat.
So there you have it, guys. Thank you very much to the teacher for Philippine Science High School, Western Visayas, for that, for inspiring all of us. I'm sure that we have learned lots of things from him. Now it's time to introduce the next keynote speaker. He is actually a lecturer from Fatima College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. Please give the pose right now to Dr. Arul Ryan, our next keynote speaker.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. I guess Philippines, it's good evening because I'm in India. Am I audible? Okay. Okay, thank you. Greetings from Madurai, the oldest and the temple city in India. Thank you for having me here in this virtual conference. I'm very happy to join you all in this virtual research conference. At the very outset, I would like to congratulate Guimaras State College, an international organization of researchers, inventors, and extensionists incorporated for hosting this successful international virtual research conference on green technology education with the theme continuing limitless connectivity with school leaders and caring for students' learning. Can I request the host to allow me to share my screen? As part of my keynote message, I will share with you my research paper titled teachers' well-being through work engagement among Montfortian schools. Dear friends, human resources are widely recognized as important for any organization, including schools, to attain the goals and objectives effectively. Today, school organizations recognize the importance of people, that is, teachers in school, the performance of schools, including caring and learning of students. The broad purpose of human resource management in any educational institution is to attract, develop, train, retrain, and motivate personnel in order to achieve the school's mission. And therefore, schools need energetic, dedicated, and performing teachers. Like any other school systems, the Montfortian schools, which are a group of schools which are operating in Asia, Europe, Africa, and in Americas for the last 300 years. So this group of schools in Asia, the administrators have gathered and wanted to know whether we need engaged teachers or disengaged teachers. What do we mean by engaged teachers? Engaged teachers are, they enjoy good health, and therefore they are healthy physically and mentally. They are committed to their organizations. They perform, they are productive, and they are effective. On the other hand, disengaged teachers experience burnout. They undergo stress, and it results ill health, both mentally and emotionally, also physically. Disengaged teachers are disconnected with their work and organizations. They are less committed, they are unproductive and ineffective. Other factors contribute to the well-being of Montfortian teachers through work engagement. Are they the same? Which means, are these level of work engagement of teachers are same across countries? So these are the questions came in the minds of the school administrators in Asia, particularly in the 5 countries, India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. So the focus is on work engagement. And what is work engagement? Work engagement is a state of mind which is characterized by vigor, dedication, and absorption. Vigor, it simply explains the high level of energy. When teachers come to school, what is their level of energy do they have? To what extent they are enthusiastic about the work that they do? Are they fully immersed? And therefore, work engagement is a state of mind which is characterized by these 3 dimensions: vigor, dedication, and absorption. In this study, we will focus on the job demand resource model, which is job demand. Job demand generally is characterized by the stress that we experience at work, the risk, the hazards, the physical demands. Maybe we feel we are overloaded. We feel our work has more complexity, and therefore we experience stress. So these job demands lead to burnout and ill health, which is bad. This is a great concern in Western countries, particularly countries like Netherlands, where they give more attention to occupational health psychology. They give more attention to the well-being of employees. There are so many therapy centers. There are so many clinics to help the employees to gain good health, to gain well-being. Job resources, on the other hand, job resources we mean by having more knowledge in do certain jobs, having autonomy at work, nobody to tell you what to do, don't receive pressures, but you know what to do, and therefore you can perform well. Social support, organizational support, leadership, safety climate, etc. So when we have these job resources, generally employees in our context in schools, teachers are engaged at work. When they are engaged, it leads to their well-being. When they are engaged, the teachers become more committed to their work and to their organization. They also exhibit extra role behaviors. What do we mean by extra role behaviors? Extra role behaviors, one example is organizational citizenship behavior. These are the behaviors are these are voluntary. No one is expecting. The school management is not expecting the teacher to be helpful, to assist the organization, to help the co-workers, but these are voluntary, discretionary. And these are positive behaviors. They help the organizations to be more effective, and these are desired behaviors among teachers. And therefore, when we provide job resources to our teachers in schools, our teachers are engaged, they enjoy well-being, good health, they are more committed, and they are very helpful to their co-teachers as well as to their organization. In this study, we will give more attention or importance to the job resources, which is a motivational process. And therefore, this is our conceptual framework. We give more focus to the job resources in this study. Job resources in this study, we have here leadership, a servant leadership. A servant leadership is authentic. A servant leader is caring. A servant leader is not sympathetic, but empathetic. A servant leader promotes peace. He promotes happiness. A servant leader is more interested in the well-being of the people in the organization. A servant leader builds a peaceful community. Do we have this kind of leaders with this kind of characteristics today? And we make hypothesis that a servant leader can promote work engagement. Perceived organizational support is another variable, which is opposite to the organizational commitment of employees. In this case, it is the commitment of the organization towards the teachers in the schools. What does that mean? It's all about how teachers feel. Do they feel that the school organizations value their contributions? Do the school organizations recognizes the contribution of the teachers in the schools? Do the teachers experience this recognition, this value? If yes, then we can expect these teachers to be more effective, which means they will have the affective commitment that they are very happy at work. They will also exhibit a normative commitment, which are they are more grateful to the school leaders and the school organization. They also will exhibit organizational citizenship behavior towards individuals and organizations. So with this model, we assume, we make hypothesis. And with this model, teachers be happy, they are more grateful, they are helpful to personal co-teachers and to the organizations. So based on this, we have these main objectives of this study. That is to measure and compare work engagement among teachers of Montfortian schools in Asia according to country. And this study also will test the significant differences in the level of work engagement of Montfortian teachers according to country. Also, we will determine the significant predictors of work engagement among the Montfortian teachers in Asia when respondents are grouped according to country. The study also aimed to determine significant organizational outcomes of work engagement among Montfortian teachers when the respondents are grouped according to country. And we also formulated the following hypothesis. There are significant differences in the level of work engagement among Montfortian teachers in India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. Secondly, servant leadership significantly predicts work engagement among Montfortian teachers in India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. Perceived organizational support significantly predicts work engagement among Montfortian teachers in India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. And work engagement significantly predicts affective and normative commitment among the teachers in India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. Finally, work engagement significantly predicts organizational citizenship behavior among Montfortian teachers in India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines. So the study was conducted in these 5 countries. I just presented the map. So we have here India, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Philippines. These countries, there are more than 200 Montfortian schools are present. For our study, we have selected only the selected schools. So we have 5 countries from India and 2 countries from 5 schools. 5 schools from India, 2 schools from Malaysia, 1 school from Thailand, which is the Assumption School, and 3 schools from Singapore. If you've been to Singapore, maybe you're familiar with these schools. And another 2 schools from Philippines, Aklan and Romblon. There were a total of 427 teachers who participated in the study. The majority of the respondents came from Singapore, as you can see, almost 47%, followed by India, Thailand, and the Philippines. So there were 5 schools from India, 2 schools from Malaysia, 1 from Thailand, 3 schools from Singapore, and 2 schools from Philippines. A total of 13 Montfortian schools participated in this study. We used a quantitative research method. It's a cross-sectional study. For data gathering, we used a survey method. We also, the researcher used research instruments which are standardized. For the data analysis, To measure the level of work engagement, descriptive statistics was used. And to test for differences in the level of work engagement, analysis of variance was employed. And for the predictors, we used the regression method. So these are the key findings of the study. As you can see at the table here, Philippines, India, Thailand, the level of work engagement among non-14 teachers are very high. We can attribute to several factors. One of them could be even cultural. National culture varies from country to country. Leadership, the work environments, and there are so many factors. The one way ANOVA results also revealed significant differences in the level of work engagement, particularly the post-hoc comparisons present that the Philippines had significant differences with Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. And as for the predictors, you can look at the table. Singapore, Thailand, both these countries, servant leadership, perceived organizational support, significantly predicted work engagement. In Singapore, the perceived organizational support accounts for 19.3% of variance on work engagement. So the servant leadership is a significant predictor in Singapore and in Thailand. Though in Singapore, as you can see, the R square, it accounts for only around 6%, but it's significant. While in Thailand, it is 19.5%. Perceived organizational support significantly predicted work engagement among teachers in Singapore with 19.3% variance, and in Thailand, 11.5% variance on work engagement. And this result also was supported by another study by Chu Chung in 2016, which was conducted among Thai teachers, that job resources predict work engagement. The regression analysis also presented us results that work engagement also was a significant predictor of organizational commitment, particularly the affective commitment in India. And it was also found that work engagement significantly predicted, as you can see, in India and Singapore. Work engagement also, we found that it has had significant prediction on OCB towards individual, organizational citizenship behavior towards individual in these countries, Malaysia and Thailand. Especially we can see in Malaysia, it accounts for 28.8% variance. In Thailand, it's very small, it's only 9%. This result in Thailand also was supported by a previous study among Thai teachers. Work engagement was found to be a significant predictor in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Philippines in terms of organizational citizenship behavior towards organization. So based on the key findings of this study, we can make conclusions that the findings of the current study partially supports the job demand resource model, particularly the motivational process among Montfortian teachers in Singapore and Thailand. That work engagement behaviors of Montfortian teachers across the countries in Asia were practiced at different levels. We could see significant differences in the level of work engagement across countries. A teacher's work engagement may be influenced by culture. As I mentioned, the national culture could be one of the factors, and other personal and organizational factors. Montfortian teachers in Singapore and Thailand perceived that the organization recognized their contribution and cared for their well-being. This has motivated them to work with a higher level of work engagement. Engaged teachers in Thailand might have felt that they have an obligation to stay with the current employer. In the context of Malaysia and Thailand, teachers' work engagement influenced them to become more helpful to their co-teachers in their work. So I derived some of the insights from this study I'd like to share with you. It is true that work engagement promotes well-being of our teachers. Healthy teachers make healthy and performing school community. School leaders must take care of the welfare of their teachers. They will take care of your school. The teachers will take care of their school organization. They will care for the students. They will promote the learning of the students. So this is the key findings of my study, and I wanted to share with you. It is my pleasure to join in this virtual conference. In India, it is Deepavali. It is the festival of lights. We are all busy. In a while, the firecrackers will go on now. And I wish you, though you may not celebrate Deepavali, but we will remember you during our festival of lights. And I wish everyone participating in this virtual research conference, particularly to the researchers, I wish you a fruitful experience. And once again, I congratulate Guimaras State College and the Organization for Research of Inventors and Extensionists. Congratulations. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
So there, guys, again, thank you very much, Dr. Arul Ryan. I'm pretty sure that you have inspired a lot of researchers and inventors as well. Thank you and keep safe.
Thank you.
Now we're going to have the next speaker. Our plenary speaker happens to be an international research fellow from Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, Tokyo, Japan. Here's Dr. Fernand P. Tupas.
Okay. Tapos share. Okay.
share. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Before I present to you the title of my research, allow me first to have a little background of what I am doing in Hokkaido University of Education as International Research Fellow under Japan Society for Promotion of Science. Actually, I am doing a research entitled Exploring Local Marine Resources as Instructional Materials in Science in Japan in the Philippines. This study is about art and science, informal science, localization and contextualization, and best practices that aims to identify local marine resources in Japan and the Philippines, to create instructional materials in the context of local marine resources for science pedagogy, and to establish museum of local marine resources containing IEC, lesson plan, visual aids, and other instructional materials. This is to answer the call of the United Nations Development Program, Sustainable Development Goals, Life Below Water. But now, I will be presenting to you a research study related to our current event, entitled Blended Learning: An Approach in Philippine Basic Education Curriculum in New Normal, a review of current literature. Actually, this study is to answer SHED's call that all SUCs in the country, future researcher, must engage in topics related to coronavirus. But as a science curriculum specialist and have a little knowledge of blended learning, I was motivated to review some documents and find some best practices to help the basic education in the country. So, what is education now as we are facing this pandemic? Actually, one of the agencies around the world that profoundly affected by coronavirus is the education system. It changes the educational landscape because of this pandemic. There are around 1.2 billion students in 186 countries around the world were stopped to go to school. Many nations attempt to open classes after a month of lockdown, but many failed. So, what is the best practices or best approaches that we could have during this pandemic? All schools are closed. Schools are planning how to best ensure continuity of teaching during this coronavirus. And many experts and practitioners suggested that we will use online education. Are the stakeholders ready for this new approach in new normal? Practitioners suggested that we will use online education. Are parents or guardians ready for this new approach? Stakeholders ready for this new approach? They will be the one to act as teacher during this new normal. Are parents or guardians ready for this new approach? What will happen to the education system of the Philippines as it faces this pandemic? According to our president, no vaccine, no opening of classes. But the Department of Education Secretary insisted that they will be adapting an alternative approach just to continue the opening of classes this school year 2020-21. And they suggested that we will be using cell phones, tablets, and desktop with internet connectivity, or modular or face-to-face approach in areas where there is no coronavirus, and other forms of instructional materials. We should always put in our mind that education always plays plays an essential part in the country's growth and development. However, before we continue with this blended learning, let's have a little background of what is the current trend of education system, basic education system in the Philippines. Actually, we are adapting the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So education will be now into Education 4.0. But according to study of Tupas and Nodirama in 2020, published in Journal of Research of in Universal Journal of Educational Research, there are very few Filipino teachers who have enough knowledge about Education 4.0. This is based on their trainings and activities, workshops conducted during in-service training for teachers. But then, our education now is one of the best in the world in terms of adding the 2 years senior high school, and we have this STEM track, and the approach is a spiral progression. However, this is the plan of the new curriculum, but based on the different assessment, like the themes, the international trends in international mathematics and science survey, Philippines ranked 43rd out of 46 in high school two, and 23rd out of 25 in fourth grade, and also in programs for international student assessment or PISA, we are always on the bottom. And results in the national achievement test, we are always below the national standard. So, however, in order to improve the system, we should give importance to our teachers. They are always play an important role in our education system. They are the one that ensures that adequate learning to discover the potential of students. They should always have excellent commitment and skills in hard work. But with the lack of competent teachers in the Philippines is one of the contributing factor for low quality and primary education curriculum. So then, with the implementation of blended learning in basic education system, the question now is, are we ready? So what is blended learning? Are Filipino teachers equipped in adapting the concept of BL? Or with limited time, are they already ready to implement the approach? What are the support of the department for the teachers to effectively implement the proposed strategy? Actually, when we talk about blended learning, this is not new to Philippine education system. For instance, as a DepEd ed teacher, and I was traveling to present papers in international and local, I'm always out of the country or school. So without knowing it, I'm using social media for instruction. I'm doing modules to be used by students during that time that I am not in the classroom. So I was unaware that I am already using blended learning. But DepEd suggested that this blended learning can be used also in basic education, even though that the first introduction of blended learning is in college and in university courses. So because DepEd suggested this blended learning because they don't want to disrupt the classes this coming academic year 2020 and to 2021. So they resulted to insist that basic education will be using blended learning. So the objective of this study is to identify the effectiveness of blended learning in the education system to help the Philippines in the new normal. And the method of this study is just a qualitative research using lead and link methods, and then documents are taken from the journal and the website with the theme history, concepts, higher education, various pedagogy, impact of blended learning, and online articles related to blended learning. And we also conducted some interviews with Filipino teachers, parents, and students after the opening of classes in October 5, 2020. So now, this blended learning started in the 80s. And then with the development of personal computer, then the new approach in teaching shifted to blended learning. But there are no exact definition of what is really blended learning. But usually the technique is using face-to-face, online strategies, and technology. And to higher education, this blended learning is a hybrid approach. And also, blended learning is usually refers to the old implementation of blended learning is usually refers to technology, pedagogy, and also as a whole. So in tertiary level, blended learning started with and our studies prove that the use of blended learning in nursing courses improve the performance of learners. And also graduate program, teachers who live in remote areas were able to attend full-time classes and finish courses because of online courses. And blended learning is also used in TPAC. TPAC means fun in engaging, and it's also used to aid learners in speaking, listening, reading, writing skills. And this is the model of blended learning, and there are different approaches based on 2021. So what is the impact of blended learning in education system? Actually, for example, in grade 9 boys, successfully increased performance. Blended learning has no guidelines on how we implement this. Students have free time on whatever they want to use, when they want to learn the subject areas. So what is the benefit of blended learning? Okay, it reduces risk from the virus. It's students can choose any time, any subjects to learn on a specific day, and it also help feedbacking because teachers could easily feedback, give comments and suggestions about the performance of the students right after they submitted the required activities. Also, the blended learning boasts confidence, and the blended learning able to aid parents on how to teach students effectively and submit this paper on time. So, but in the Philippine concept of blended learning, there are five specific strategies identified by the Filipino teachers when I asked them, what do you think will be blended learning in the Philippines? So first, they have the e-learning, which is the use of smartphone, tablet, and desktop with the help of internet connection. Then second, we have the modular approach where teachers are encouraged to make module for those students who cannot afford to have the gadgets and connectivity. And also radio and television, which we've been using long time ago, like when we were young in the Philippines, we saw some instructional materials from ABS-CBN. So the DepEd is now using this type of resources just to continue our education in this pandemic. And then face-to-face, this is for areas where there is no virus. Teachers could continue the use of face-to-face. And the last one is para-teachers. Since teachers have limited time to collect or submit or give all those instructional materials, teachers, DepEd will be hiring para-teachers to help these teachers assess the performance of the learners and to submit it on time. But however, we have always a problem with how DepEd implement the blended learning in the country. First, we have no clear guidelines. Second, availability of computer and cell phone. Not all public school students can afford to buy this gadget, and also limited connectivity. I hope that the government, this is a learning national government, that we could probably allocate certain amount to provide internet connections to all areas in the country. And homeschooling, and not all parents are graduate, bachelor's degree graduates, and it's really difficult for them on how to help their students to learn all the subject areas. This is one of the problem that we need to also to give importance. And social support and content of modules. When I'm checking the module of my 3 kids, I found out that some of the modules made by their teachers is a copy paste from the internet. I hope trainings will be provided for all the teachers on how to make effective module. And to gauge learning is also difficult and one of the problem of the Filipino teachers. And this is my study, and I hope I have shared a little knowledge, because I was really overwhelmed about blended learning, and my commitment to help Department of Education is always important in my heart, because I've been a DepEd teacher for 15 years. So this study is supported by the Japan Society for Promotion of Science. Mabuhay, arigato gozaimasu. And thank you so much to Dr. Romy for the invitation, to Guimaras State College and International Organization of Researchers, Inventors, and Extensionists Incorporated for allowing me to share my research study. And good evening, everyone.
So there you have it. Thank you very much, Dr. Fernand P. Tupas, for inspiring all of us, for sharing your views and insights regarding the effectivity of blended learning. And of course, we want to say thank you as well to Dr. Iris Laudel, faculty member of Philippine Science High School, and the lecturer from Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India, Fatima College, Dr. Arul Ryan. Keep safe. 3 doctors, again, thank you very much for sharing your insights and views, and keep safe. Well, it has been a great day for all of us. The very first day of our International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Evaluation. And of course, we're going to have 2 more days. So we have some special announcements. Now, first one is we're going to have evaluation of what we have done for today. It's going to be until 12 midnight. Now, if you have any questions, you can post it in chat box or comment section. Then if you have questions, we'll be right back to you and answer them back to you. There will be submission of video presentation until 8:30 p.m. So kindly submit it or send to jerlynagustar@yahoo.com. Again, that's JERLYNAGUSTAR@yahoo.com. And of course, it's going to be a great day tomorrow for second day. We're going to be sending the link later until midnight. And this is also a very important announcement to all DepEd teachers. Please do not use their account in DepEd when they want to get into this International Virtual Research Conference on Green Technology Education. So it has been a great day. Keep safe, everyone. See you again tomorrow.